Outward opening door. Some big keys that I want to make sure are covered. One is getting that gap or creating additional weaknesses in the door to create a gap. So there's a couple ways to do that. We can take a flathead and we can smash the middle of a door. And when we smash the middle of the door, what that does is it pulls the whole door together because it's pushing the entire door backwards. And when we do that, because the hinge holds one side, the side with the latch and the deadbolt are going to shift over for us, and that's going to open up our gap. The other technique is we can smash in the area that we're going to work, right? And see if we can get the actual part as we hit it to kick up a little bit, allowing our tool to slide by it. So these are some of the techniques we teach in our classes. Some of the things I want to make sure you guys understand is that smashing the middle of a door, whether you're law enforcement or fire, is a good thing on an outward opening door because it's going to create more gap in this area that you want to work. So Paul will demonstrate just coming up to the door. And again, our door is AR 450. You can bang on it a little bit, but this doesn't mean take full swings at our door. We're trying to do things that we need to do to memorize so that when we go to a real event, we don't miss these steps. So Paul comes up and he's going to bang on the door a little bit. And that hopefully is going to crush this area, cause a dent, help this to flare out. I'm then going to set my Halligan, the adz end, right in the area that he was working, and I'm going to tell him hit. Now, when he does this, real quick, when he does this, he's not taking a full-on swing at this, because all he's trying to do is drive the tool from the end of the door in to where the stop is sitting against this part of the adz. That means that the door is 1 3/4 inches wide. The door should sit right at this mark here. And that tells us we have the entire adz into the edge of the door. Once we do that, once that happens, that's when we want to crush the edge of the door. In our crush prop video, you're going to see how an actual door crushes on the edge. On a prop, it doesn't translate the same, but we're still going to go through some of the practice of it to remind ourselves in an evolution to do it. So Paul struck the door, I set my tool in place, and I tell him, hit, hit. Now the funny thing is, and I know this never happens to anybody out there, but sometimes you get amped up with a fire, and Paul, when he came up to this thing, was a brand new firefighter, and he just went to town on this thing. And guess where that adz can end up? It can end up in the middle of the stop, because even in a concrete building, a lot of stops actually are hollow. And this has happened to some friends of mine, so we just want to warn you about that and remind you, once you hit your first mark on your tool, you can stop. And you should also hear a tone sound difference as it hits the stop at the same time. Now, just like we do on any real door, we're going to crush it. So we're going to just crush up and crush down. And you can see this isn't really doing anything to our door or to our frame other than making them bow in and out. So I'll do it one more time. I'm crushing my door, right? That doesn't really change anything. Now, if my tool has walked out at this point, and sometimes your tool will walk out a little bit, then before I try and push this around the corner, I'm going to tell Paul, hey, go ahead and set me one more time. And he does that. Now I'm going to make sure that I'm grabbing the entire door, and when I think I'm in the right place, I'm going to tell Paul, hit. So Paul hit, and when Paul hits and I see the actual tool moving, once I'm sure it's past the stop, I'm going to tell him drive, which means he's just going to drive the tool until it's flat against the door. Hit, drive. Now the tool is completely against the door. And the two things are important about this. By driving the tool in, the largest part of the wedge part of the adz is all the way to the edge of the door. That is probably already unseated the latch. Now all I'm really doing is finding the deadbolt or an additional lock mechanism that might be in the door. So now I'm going to grab my tool, I'm going to handshake the fork all the way at the end, and I'm going to give it a rip. If I don't get a complete break, and that sometimes happens, I can bring it all the way out and then cam straight down while pulling out. And that'll probably get the rest of the door the rest of the way open, okay? Once I do this, I know in a lot of stuff when we do in our inward opening door, we're looking for life, layout, and lift. And this is not necessarily the same. It could be a commercial building, but remember, people are going towards exits. So always look for life after you open a door. always take a moment to look inside and see the layout. See what your fire conditions are at, and hopefully you'll have a successful event once you get through your door. Now go force some doors.